I make it 6 o'clock, and I would like to start. I just want to share my first clip with you. I just want to check, can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great stuff. Okay, guys, welcome. This is the EDML 8429 National Support Session, or if you like, the Assignment Prep Session. My plan tonight is to take you through the first assignment, to give you a sense of how I would go about doing the assignment, what is expected of you, and how you should tackle and approach it. The administrative stuff about the assignment. Currently, it's due on the 20th of April, according to the last PAS I had a look at. Please do yourself a favor, go download the PAS from the student portal and check the date. Please keep in mind this assignment is due at 9 o'clock in the evening. And 9 is the computer's 9 o'clock, not your watch that's 5 minutes late. Late is late. Even a minute late is considered late. They are very strict about this now. So please, guys, I would encourage you to hand it in sometime before 9. Simply that if anything goes wrong, you know that it is handed in and it's safe. Also remember, Safe Assign takes a while to generate, and while Safe Assign is generating, it might come back and there might be some problems in there. I also want to warn everybody talking about Safe Assign. There have been cases in this subject in the past where students have copied students' work from 2-3 years ago. As many of you are working at tertiary institutions, do not even think about it. The ramifications can be quite severe if you are working at a tertiary institution and you are caught that you have cheated in an assignment by copying somebody else's work. Just do your own work, it's easier. Okay, the assignment calls for, and by the way, please guys, I will give opportunity for questions that are right at the end, but please feel free to interrupt me, to stop and say, Carl, just explain that or whatever. It's actually easier if you ask me while we're talking about that specific topic. I don't mind being interrupted, and you can just open your mic and say, hey, Carl, sorry. Or you can just post a message in the chat if you prefer. So this assignment calls for 1,500 to 2,000 words. That is very, very short. I will give you a little bit of leeway. That does not include your reference list. But for what you are expected to do, 1,500 to 2,000 words are very short. I have in the past said to students, look, I will give you leeway. I will mark whatever you've written. But then I've got essays of 5,000 words. That's not fair that you write 5,000 words and the next student sticks to the 2,000 words. So I'll give you your 10%, so about 2,200 words, but please don't go over that. Part of what the objective is with putting a word limit on assignments like this is that one of the curriculum outcomes that we're looking for at a postgraduate level is that you can write succinct and you can make your point and walk away from it. So if you know you write expansively, please do me a favor, start a lot earlier and write your 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, 3,500 words, whatever it is, and then go back and review it and cut it back. At a postgraduate level, in any case, the expectation is that you would write and you would review your work 2 or 3 times. I would expect that you would write it, review it 2 or 3 times, and then the last time, I always advise students, and I know you feel like a right idiot when you do it. I know I did when I did it. Lock yourself in a room and read it out loud to yourself. You will immediately pick up any mistakes, any language mistakes, and even thinking mistakes, or thinkers rather than typos. Because at this level, we expect really good work. So it has to go through Safe Assign. Please make sure that you understand how the system works. please make sure that you've checked that you know where to click and what to click to submit it. If you're not sure, please contact the online campus and chat to them. They will explain everything to you. Don't try to figure it out on that evening. And there's no sense in sending me an email at 8:30 on the 20th of April saying, Coral, I can't submit. If things do go pear-shaped, if something goes wrong, and please understand this and understand this now, load shedding is not considered an excuse. The load shedding timetables are available well in advance, and you should consider that if you are going to have load shedding that evening, that you should hand in before the load shedding takes place. But if things do go pear-shaped, but for some reason you can't get it to submit, the system is giving you a problem, immediately take a screenshot, but be sure that the time is on that screenshot, right? Log a ticket. To the ticket, attach your assignment, and then you can send me an email and say to me, listen, I've logged a ticket. This is the ticket's reference number. And I've emailed my assignment as part of logging a ticket. And then you're just notifying me. There's nothing I can do. I don't have the powers to say, yes, we're going to mark it or anything like that. If you're going to email me, you must remember you're only emailing me to tell me that you had a problem. And I can then follow up. And when I get to marking it, say, listen here, where's this person's assignment? Because they notified me that there was a problem. Right, then referencing. So you need to reference everything. In-text reference, you need to have a reference list. And if there's direct quotes, you need to deal with them correctly. I am, unfortunately, your worst nightmare when it comes to referencing. I take referencing very seriously, and there's a reason for that. Because I'm an academic, I trade on my intellectual property. In other words, I trade with what's in my mind and the things I think out and the things I write. And if somebody takes that work and puts it into a paper and makes it their own, they've actually stolen my intellectual property, but they've stolen my ability to be able to make a living. And you, as many of you are either aspiring or already in the academic world, you should consider it the same. So we stand on the shoulder of giants, and we use other people's work in our work, but then we acknowledge those people by referencing it. Please make sure that you understand how to reference. If you don't, contact the online campuses librarians. They're more than happy to spend time with you and explain to you how to do that. I highly, highly encourage you to use an online referencing tool, a referencing aid. I personally use Mendeley. If you haven't used Mendeley, go Google Mendeley. There's on YouTube, there's a couple of videos. There's a series of 12 or 15 videos on Mendeley. I can't remember the name of the series, but you'll find it quite easily on YouTube. Watch the first two. You don't really need much more than that. But it's really helpful. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to build up a library of your own referencing works. And when you start doing your research, which I know many of you are only going to start doing next year, it helps to have a body of work that you already have worked through, and you know this work is at the level that I would like to use. But yeah, when it gets to the research eventually, it'll be virtually impossible for you to reference everything manually. And if you are then au fait with a referencing tool, such as Cite This For Me, Mendeley, and there's many other, then you'll be in a much better position to use it at that point than if you only start doing it then. Also, don't be shy to use some kind of language checker, something that checks your language. Please do yourself a favor, stay far, far away from ChatGPT. I'm one of the guys that's not afraid to talk about ChatGPT and how it can be used. ChatGPT is a very useful tool in the academe. If you know how to use it, if you know how to prompt it, it can give you very nice outlines, very nice ideas, and so on. Don't even think about using it as a tool to write for you. I did some experiments the other day in the office on my own work, and I asked it to do some stuff. and it was blatantly lying about references and so on. So it's got a mind of its own. Be very, very careful about it. But there's many other tools that you can use to check your language, your spelling, and so on. For a start, I mean, at this level, any spelling errors are severely frowned upon. So make sure at least that your settings in your Word, because most of you will be using Word, that it is set to South African English or UK English, not the US English. And make sure that your spell checker is switched on so that it highlights your words that are wrong in red. Do not let it autocorrect. Manually correct the words. Right click on the word and then choose the right word. Again, those are all the technical stuff. So don't hand in late. Watch out for your word count. Remember, you must go through SafeAssign, log a query, or speak to one of the guys on campus. If you're clever and you've done the work early enough, you'll have time to speak to somebody on the online campus if things go pear-shaped, and they'll be able to assist you to submit it. And then, guys, get the referencing right. Okay, that's the technical stuff. Let's get into the juicy bit. What do you need to do to prepare? Well, at a minimum, you need to have worked through these documents on the screen. If you've listened to the recording of the first, and I see something's fallen off the bottom. That's interesting. Okay. In any case, I'll tell you what it says there. So you need to work through those documents and the other updated sources that I have referred to in some of my other recordings and online things. And you need minimum 2 additional sources except those 4. I do not think with 2 additional sources you would be able to complete this assignment successfully. I would think that you need about 10 to 15 sources to be able to work through this. And in those 10 to 15, I'm talking about sources outside of the legislative sources. I think you would need articles, journal articles, proper academic articles to support your arguments. But that's the minimum requirement. So how do we go about writing this assignment? This assignment will be for you to address one of the issues that we have in education. They give you 3 different issues, and you can decide which one you choose. The need to address the country's scarce critical skills requirements, the need to increase the number of black graduates in the higher education system, and the focus on the technological innovation and intervention to improve the quality of higher education. So you need to choose one of those topics as your assignment. Please realize you choose only one and you only address that one. And in the next slide, I will explain to you what you need to address. But I briefly want to unpack these 3 topics so that we understand what are we looking at. So in terms of the need to address the country's critical skills requirements, we need to look at what do the position papers, the various position papers on higher education say, and where does this put us in terms of the Millennium Development Goals? And firstly, we say that we understand that in South Africa, there's certain scarce skills, mostly in the STEM field, that we do not have enough people of, and that we need to find ways of getting more of those people. The problem that we have there is that people go to university and they tend to study things that are not pure sciences. I've got to count my words very carefully because I myself am not a pure scientist. And our scarce skills lies in things like science and technology, mathematics, chemistry, biology, engineering, and those type of fields. Now, the question that you've got to ask here, if you choose this goal, is what is it that tertiary education can do to address those skills? And as I said, in the next slide, we'll look at how you're going to address it. The second one is the need to increase the number of black graduates in the higher education system. So you could argue that the number of black graduates have increased immensely over the past, let's make it 20 years, 30 odd years. And that's true. But if you, and I explained this in I think the last short recording that I put up for you guys, if you can look at the number of black graduates as a function of the number of black people that could possibly be in higher education, it's something like, and I'm speaking off the cuff here, folks, I think it's 15% are in higher education, opposed to, I think it's 41 or 42% of white people that are. So there's a problem. And now you can track that problem through into the world of work. You can look at things like affirmative action, and you can say, now we have to affirm people that don't exist. Therefore, we are bringing people that are not qualified. And this is doing damage to those that are qualified because it places aspersions on everybody. And then you can argue, how do we increase the number of black graduates? Do we start secondary education, or do we put stronger goals in place? You can even go fees must fall if you want to, although fees must fall has morphed into a lot of other things, and you've got to be very careful if you address that. Then the third option, you can look at the focus on technological innovation and interventions to improve the quality of higher education. How are we using technology, and how can we and how should we use technology to improve the quality of higher education in the world, not just in South Africa? The use of technology in higher education has been very, very quickly accelerated. COVID forced us into a position where we had to very quickly get very tech savvy. My institution, I think we closed down when COVID became acute and we couldn't do classes. I think we closed down for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, we continued our classes online. All classes were presented. No class time was lost. We really, it is, I'm still proud to this day, and I'll argue it with many people about the way in which my institution dealt with COVID. For something coming out the blue and unexpected and unplanned, technology, we forced technology and we forced ourselves into a technological position. But I don't think if you take that topic on, you should focus that much on COVID. You can, and the effect that COVID has, but you must look at it in a more big picture. And how can we use technology and innovation, for example, in the massification of higher education? How can we use it to expand our thinking around higher education, to expand our numbers? How can we use it to get higher education places, and I'm talking geographic places, where we've struggled previously? And how can we reach people that we need to reach, but we can't reach them at this point? What is it that we can do? So those are the three key goals that you can look at. And as I said, remember, you choose one of those goals. You're only writing on one of them. The crux of tonight's talk is the next slide. So how do you write your assignment? You will recall I said you've got 1,500 to 2,000 words. So I've broken this down, and this is how I would write it. Now, when you add all the words up, you will see that they don't add up. That's 400 max, that's 1,400, that's 1,800 plus 5 and 2,300, that's 2,500 words if you write the max words. So you're already well over the count. So you're going to have to play around with this, but this is how I would go about it. I would start with a brief outline of the current challenge. I would say, what is the challenge? Why is it a challenge? What is the effect on higher education? And what is the knock-on effect into the socio-economic world and the country? And why is this, whatever this is, whichever one of the three you chose, why is this a bad thing? Why is this something that we need to address and need to sort out? Once you have done that, we move on to the second part. Now, please, guys, use headings. Use sensible headings that I can see what you are dealing with in which section of. I really like headings, because what headings does for me, it takes me through your work. It tells me, what are you trying to address? Sometimes you would write something that you would feel you are addressing it, but I don't see it that way. A heading guides me and I can say, oh, okay, she's trying to explain this section. So now I understand what she's getting at. But if there's no heading and it's just text, I unfortunately sometimes get lost. And when I get lost, I don't understand what you're saying. And it's difficult to give you marks. And I want to give you marks. Okay, you do your intro. Second one, the mechanisms, strategies, and plans to address the goal. What has legislation, what has policy documents said will be done to address this? So in other words, what is the official stance from government? You can bring a little bit of universities in general, but very little into this because we're going to deal with that later. But basically, you want to look at what is it that government is saying we should do to improve this. Then you need to comment on progress and or challenge in general. So how are we doing and what are the challenges that we are facing as higher education in achieving whatever the one of the three it is that you are doing? So how are we doing? How have we progressed? How have the numbers changed? How have we expanded? And what challenges are facing on future expansion? Now for the tricky bit. You need to give an academically supported opinion on the achievement by 2030, which is when the Millennium Goals are due, and include a reflection of the progress in your own institution. So in other words, do you think that the goal will be achieved? And you need to also go look at how those goals relate to the Millennium Goals and so on by 2030. If not, why not? Academically. If so, why? Academically, in other words, sources, and that's why I said earlier, I can't see with those couple of documents and 2 additional ones, you're going to be able to make it. You need to look 10 to 15 different documents and try to find things that are very current and try to find things that are academic articles of an academic nature. And lastly, a summary, a conclusion, the sort of the so what of your of the whole assignment. So that breaks it down to you in manageable chunks that you can are able to address. And the key thing here, because you can find all of this in the assignment, the key thing here is the way I've broken down the words. I believe if you follow this word count, you would be you should be fine. Next, how am I going to mark it? That's very simple. I'm going to mark according to the rubric. In the assignment itself, there is a rubric. You need to check every heading in the rubric and look at the far right-hand side column. That is what I'm going to evaluate you against. When you have finished writing your first draft and you read through it for the first time, take the far right-hand side of the rubric and evaluate your work and say, am I meeting that standard? And be harsh on yourself, because I will be harsh. Say, are you meeting the standard? Remember, this is a postgraduate course, so think at that level. So simply test yourself against the rubric. Make sure that you've ticked all the boxes on the rubric. So you've done everything that the rubric says, and look at what is Carl going to give you marks for. What are the things that the rubric call for? What is it that you have to do? And make sure you've done that. And then when you've done that with your first draft, when you redo it and you do your second draft, make sure that now you're adapting it, you're working more and more and more towards that. It's an iterative process. By the third draft, you should be spot on and you shouldn't have any problems. I've had students get 80% plus for this. Before I ask for questions, I want to mention something else. This does call for your opinion, but it calls for a qualified academic opinion. In other words, you cannot simply say, I don't agree, I don't think this is right. You need to back your thinking with academic sources. I'm happy for you not to agree with stuff. I actually enjoy it when I've got students that are contrarian, but then you need to be able to show me that you've got an academic source and I reiterate, academic source that says this is so. And an academic source isn't one person speaking against everything that everybody else says. It is the general academic feeling. Okay, so if you've got questions, please email me. And I'm going to allow for questions now. If you've got questions now, email me. But also, our next session is on the 19th of April. That is, I think, a day before you hand in. I'm supposed to do a contact session that evening. I will not do a contact session in the normal way. I will be online from 6 o'clock. I will be there for 15, 20 minutes. If nobody pitches, fine, I'm out of there. If you pitch and you want to ask me questions and want to clarify stuff, I will sit there. I don't mind. I'll sit there until 10, 11 at night speaking to you guys, as long as we're engaging all the time. So I will be available that night, but that will be specific Q&As on what you've done. Guys, you can't wait until then to start working. So, okay, I'll have a chat to Carl then and then start writing. That's the night before. Even if you work solid 24 hours, you will not have an assignment for it that will give you a really good mark. Yeah, you'll be in trouble. Okay, that's my rant and raving done. Any questions, anything you want to ask me about the assignment at this point? I'm just going to move to the chat so I can see if there's anything coming up in the chat. Any questions, anything that's unclear, anything you want me to go back and re-explain? Yes, Jessica, I think the word count is going to be what will hurt everybody. What I would try to do if I was you, sort of try to look at my word counts that I've given to you. Try to write each section as close as possible or as little over my word count as possible, and then go back and then see where you can cut, where you can cut, where you can cut. It is difficult, but as I said, it's one of the outcomes that you are able to write succinctly. And the only way really to do that is to write and then cut back, cut back. I'm busy doing a piece for a conference at the moment. And I must do my pitch for the conference. And this is a 15-minute presentation and a complete academic, a 5,000 words academic paper. I must do my pitch in 350 words. That includes the reference list. I'm now on my, I think, 4th draft, and I'm still about 50 words over. The place where I've got to submit it does not allow for more than 350 words. It simply says you are over the word count, you cannot submit. So yeah, it's one of those things. Corin, that is helpful. Okay, great. Yeah, please, Corin, reach out if you guys have got anything. I know this is a lot. What I will suggest you do is, if you haven't read through the whole thing, remember, I've given you a highlight package. So I would take the assignment and now, preferably, sit down and read through the whole assignment. So that if you haven't done that yet, you'll read through the whole assignment, and then as you read through it, jot down questions. I'm on study leave tomorrow, but I will obviously be checking my emails and so on. So if you've got questions immediately, this long weekend is a very nice time. I know it's family time and so on, but if you can get a couple of hours in and do some rough notes, or if you're not up to where you should be, maybe do some reading, because choose a topic and then read on that topic, because you're not going to be able to just write this without reading. It is these topics run very, very deep. If you haven't listened to my other recordings, you might want to do that, because it is important that you have a proper background and a proper grounding before you really start to get to do it. Okay, guys, that's it. If there's nothing further, I'm going to say good evening to you. Please email me if you not sure. Corin, yes, there are. I'm sorry. Genevieve, concerning this question, include a reflection of progress of your chosen goal in your institute. Well, not necessarily, Genevieve. I wouldn't name the institution where I'm working in the work, and many of our students do not work for Varsity College. There's others in the group in the IIE, as well as people from private or other private institutions, and the odd one from a public institution. But your reflections would be on your institution. But I would be, purely from an ethics point of view, I would be hesitant to name. I would say my institution has done the following, my institution, blah, 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 and I'll just refer to my institution, but I wouldn't use the name of the institution as such. And Karen, yes, there are ICE tasks for this module. I'm busy putting them together. There will be ample time for you to complete the ICE tasks. I know many other lecturers have already released their ICE tasks. I'm putting together a packet of tasks that I want you guys to do, but I want to, because of the way the online mode works, I don't want to release them one. I want to upload all of them and say to you, okay, go for it. There they are. They are due on the 15th of May. But I'll make sure there's enough time for all of you to have the opportunity to do all the ICE tasks. I may also, I may not, I will release a whole recording on the ICE tasks as on their own and explain to you what to do and how to do it. But don't worry too much about the ICE tasks. They won't be too arduous. Okay, guys, anything else? Gone. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Please feel free to email. Please reach out if you need some help. Read it and make sure that you understand what's needed, and then we'll take it from there. Thanks, guys. Good night.